Hello traders, this is Rich from tradesight. This is a look at our market leading ETFs for the coming session. This is going to be for the new week, Monday, June 9th, 2014. We had our non-farm number today that definitely influenced price and took things higher on the day. You can see that we closed above the open in all the major market ETFs and above the VWAP. So not only did we close above the open, we had a strong finish on most of these. Not extraordinary volume in anything, but definitely a positive day across the board. Fortunately, we're not getting any signals from our scans for Monday, but let's drill down to the individual sectors and see if there's anything there. Going down to the individual sectors, we've got some signals on both sides, but we don't have a particular bias here, so not necessarily expecting a strong follow-through, though we could, and we at the same time we could also reverse, because there's really no real bias here either way. Got a big volume bump today in VNQ, trading 3.5 times its typical volume. That was decently below the day's open and a little bit below the day's VWAP. Got a fair amount of CPS conditions to the upside, meaning that we expect these names to continue higher in a couple of sells. Definitely be aware of the contra candles if they're forming a range high. We've got one in the PPH and also one in the XLK. A lot of times that's the first hint of distribution where the trend is about to turn or perhaps exhaust itself. Moving on to the commodities, not really the focal point of the day. You can see mostly light volume here. We do have a downside signal in the USO and the oil tracking ETF, and we've got an upside CPS in the broad-based DBC, but that was on very light volume. Bonds were fairly weak today, closed in the TLT, the big one. Traded full volume today, traded below the day's open and closed below the day's VWAP. Moving on to the foreign names, we've got an upside CPS and EWZ on excellent volume. Also an upside CPS on EWU. That one was also on very good volume. So especially with the ECB in action late in the week, we could see some more action in these next week. So be sure to follow those. Also note we did have a volume bump in the FXI, but we did not have a signal in the Chinese market following broad-based ETF. Moving on to the specials, these are the leveraged ETFs. On the long side, we had a volume bump in the UYG and also the FAS. FAS is triple leveraged to the financial sector. Shorts, upside contra candle in the TVT, so definitely follow that. Downside CPS signal in the DUG. That one was pretty weak today, more than 1% below the day's open. The FXP traded good volume and was a little bit above the day's open. All right, folks. Here's a look at our watch list. You can see that we're not really anywhere with the setup phase right now of the seeker or the comber for the broad base, but we are kind of getting a little bit deeper here for some of the accounts in the standard comber. 9 bars up in both the spiders and the Qs, so that potentially could come into effect next week. So we want to be aware of that. We've got 13s here for the countdown phase. You can see in the IYR, so definitely be aware of that. That's pretty deep there. Also in the OI, in the PPH, 11 days up in the aggressive seeker and 10 days up in the comber. So those could come into play. The VNQ is getting close. We're already 13 bars up in the aggressive seeker, so that's probably going to end the impulse. Then we just have to see if we can record 13 bars up in the standard seeker and perhaps even the comber as well. Rest of the list down here is pretty far away from recording anything. Note though that we are 9 bars up in the XLU and the XLP, so those will probably start to weigh on price in the next week. The other thing to watch is the VNQ is 8 days up now in the startup phase, so we can actually spoil these counts here with a recycle, even though the aggressive is locked in. So could have one little sideways there, then maybe one more push higher. So that could definitely be worth watching, and make sure you're on top of those charts. All right, folks. As always, thanks for listening. This has been Rich for tradesight.